7th July 1961. Disciple, I am rereading Savitri. Lucky man, I would love to read it again. And the more you read, the more marvelous it becomes. 15 July 1961. As I was saying at the beginning, the body's formation has a very minimal, a quite subordinate importance for a saint or a sage. But for this supramental work, the way the body is formed has an almost crucial importance, and not at all in relation to spiritual elements, nor even to mental power. These aspects have no importance at all. The capacity to endure, to last, is the important thing. Well, in that respect, it is absolutely undeniable that my body has an infinitely greater capacity than Sri Aurobindo's had. That was the basic problem, because the identification of the two, Sri Aurobindo and the mother, was almost child's play. It was nothing for me to merge into him, or him to merge into me was no problem. It wasn't difficult. We had some conversations on precisely this subject, because we saw that there were many other things too, but this isn't the time to speak of them. The prevailing conditions were such that I told him I would leave this body and melt into him with no regret or difficulty. I told him this in words, not just in thought. And he also replied to me in words. Your body is indispensable for the work. Without your body, the work cannot be done. After that, I said no more. It was no longer my concern, and that was the end of it. This was said in 1949, just a little more than a year before he left. And that's really how it is. But now I am set face to face with the fact. The immensity, or the something. This work is so formidable. In the final analysis, everything obviously depends upon the Supreme's will, because if one looks deeply enough into the question, even physical laws and resistances are nothing for him. But this kind of direct intervention takes place only at the extreme limit. If his will is to be expressed in opposition, as it were, to the whole set of laws governing the manifestation, well, that only comes at the very last second. Sri Aurobindo has expressed this so well in Savitri. So well. At least 3 times in the book, he has expressed this will that abolishes all established laws, all of them, and all the consequences of these laws, the whole formidable colossus of the manifestation, so that, in the face of it all, that can express itself. And this takes place at the very last second, so to speak, at the extreme limit of possibility. 28th July 1961. Take the experience of mind, for example. Mind in the evolution of nature, gradually emerging from its involution. Well, and this is a very concrete experience. These initial mentalized forms, if we can call them that, were necessarily incomplete and imperfect, because nature's evolution is slow and hesitant and complicated. Thus, these forms inevitably had an aspiration towards a sort of perfection and a truly perfect mental state. And this aspiration brought to the descent of already fully conscious beings from the mental world who united with terrestrial forms. This is a very, very concrete experience. What emerges from the inconscient in this way is an almost impersonal possibility. Yes, an impersonal possibility, and perhaps not altogether universal, since it's connected with the history of the earth. But anyway, it is a general possibility, not personal. And the response from above is what makes it concrete, so to speak, bringing in a sort of perfection of the state and an individual mastery of the new creation. These beings, in corresponding worlds, like the gods of the overmind or the beings of higher regions, came upon earth as soon as the corresponding element began to evolve out of its involution. This accelerates the action, first of all, but also makes it more perfect, more powerful, more conscious. It gives a sort of sanction to the realization. Sri Aurobindo writes of this in Savitri. Savitri lives always on earth, with the soul of earth, to make the whole earth progress as quickly as possible. Well, when the time comes and things on earth are ready, then the Divine Mother incarnates with her full power. When things are ready, then will come the perfection of the realization, a splendor of creation exceeding all logic. It brings in a fullness and a power completely beyond the petty, shallow logic of human mentality. Yes, the earth is a representative and symbolic world, a kind of crystallization and concentration of the evolutionary labor, giving it a more concrete reality. It has to be taken like this. The history of the earth is a symbolic history. And it is on earth that this descent takes place. It is not the history of the universal, but of the terrestrial creation. The descent occurs in the individual terrestrial being, in the individual terrestrial atmosphere. Let's take Savitri, which is very explicit on this. The Universal Mother is universally present and at work in the universe. But the earth is where concrete form is given to all work to be done to bring evolution to its perfection, its goal. Well, at first there's a sort of emanation representative of the Universal Mother, which is always on earth to help it prepare itself. Then, when the preparation is complete, the Universal Mother herself will descend upon earth to finish her work. And this she does with Satyavan. Satyavan is the soul of the earth. She lives in close union with the soul of the earth. And together they do the work. She has chosen the soul of the earth for her work, saying, "Here is where I will do my work. Elsewhere, it's just enough to be, and things simply are. Here on earth you have to work." There are clearly universal repercussions and effects, of course. But the thing is worked out here. The place of work is here. So instead of living beatifically in her universal state and beyond, in the extra universal eternity outside of time, she says, "No, I am going to do my work here. I choose to work here." The Supreme then tells her, "What you have expressed is my will. I want to work here. And when all is ready, when the earth is ready, when humanity is ready, even if no one is aware of it, when the great moment comes, well, I will descend to finish my work." That's the story. 3 September 1961. You understand, if I were British and writing in English, I could try to do a book on Sri Aurobindo, using Savitri alone. With quotations from Savitri, one can maintain a certain poetical rhythm, and this rhythm can generate an opening. But in French, it isn't possible. How could it be translated? Yes, that's what I mean. But even in English, 23rd September 1961, there were whole sections he redid completely, which were like descriptions of what I had told him of my own experiences. Nolini said this. When I recently reread Savitri, some phrases were very familiar. And I said to Nolini, "How odd. These are almost my very words." And he replied, "But this has been changed. It was written differently. It has become like this." As the thing became more and more concrete for him, he changed it. The breath of revelatory prophecy is extraordinary. It has an extraordinary power. What struck me is that he never wanted to write anything else. To write those articles for the bulletin was really a heavy sacrifice for him. He had said he would complete certain parts of the synthesis of yoga, but when he was asked to do so, he replied, "No, I don't want to go down to that mental level. Savitri comes from somewhere else altogether." And I think that Savitri is the most important thing to speak about.